Hello and welcome. My name is Ryan Kennedy, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play and set up the game Valhalla. So first things first, let's go over the contents of the game. There are 10 clan member cards as seen here, and there are 4 clans in total, giving us a total of 40. There are also 9 equipment status cards, 3 of which are shown here, and 12 elixir cards, 4 of each of those. Each player should then receive their corresponding health meter and a health marker. Once you have your 6-sided die, you're all set to play. Now that you know about the contents of the game, let's get more familiar with them, learning what they are or what their purpose is within Valhalla. Valhalla is a 2-to-4 combat arena game where one of your delegates at any time will be able to be attacked or attack any other player's delegate. That being said, you technically have 1 chieftain card and 9 delegates. The chieftain card is technically the player itself and cannot be played until all 9 delegates have been eliminated. The other 9 delegates can be placed into 3 categories, which I've shown here. The first category is low health and high attack damage. You can see that the Blade Dancer has the highest attack modifier with +3, but the lowest health with 6. This trend increases, would increase 1 health and decrease the attack for the first category. For the second category, there is no modifier throughout the entire, but it starts at 9 health and increases 1 each time. The final category is the tank category, where they have a lot of health but deal less damage than the original. It starts with the Brute at 12 health and keeps increasing by 1, but the attack also keeps decreasing by 1. Next, let's get familiar with the equipment status cards. So in total, there are 9, because there are 2 categories for each equipment status card, and there are 3 possible types for each category, giving us a possible 9 combinations in total. I have the majority laid out to the left here, but the 3 main ones are to the right. Because there are only the possible combinations, there is a best and a worst one. You can see if the modifier is good or bad for you, or neutral, based on the sword. If it is pointing upwards, it is good for you. If it's pointing to the side, it's neutral, and if it's pointing down, it is bad for you. Put that in because having plus and minus, but having them both be good for you, it's confusing to some players. As stated before, there are 2 categories, one being weapon, the other being armor. The positive effects for weapon is +1 damage, the neutral is no damage modifier, and the bad is -1 damage dealt. The armor, on the other hand, is -1 damage taken, no modifier, and +1 damage taken. Everything you see here is every other possible combination of these. And lastly, let's go over the elixir cards, which can be used at any point in play. First one is Mending Elixir, which heals 4 health to the current delegate in play. Tainted Elixir, which the victim of this attack, their attack is skipped. An Energy Elixir, whoever uses this can attack twice on their turn. Now that you're familiar with what everything does, let's start setting up. The first step, as seen before you, is setting up the health markers and meters in front of the player. The next step is to place a shuffled elixir deck face down in the middle. Equipment cards should be randomly distributed and placed above their health meter. At this point in the game, each chieftain has a chance to pick their own delegate and place them face down on their equipment card, like so. Once all the delegates are placed face down on the equipment status cards, they are to be flipped simultaneously. Each clan member should then designate how much health their player has by placing their health marker on their health meter. The first player to attack in Valhalla is the most disadvantaged one. You determine this by looking at the equipment status card. In this play, it would be purple, as they have 2 downward-facing swords and is the worst equipment status card in the game. More convoluted example, though, would be if 2 people both have 1 downward-facing. In that case, the player with the lower health at the start is the one that goes first. As purple, I have the opportunity to attack any player that I see fit. As purple, though, I'm choosing to attack yellow. The first thing I look at is my player card. Being a headsman, I have no modifier. Looking at my equipment status next, I have a worn weapon, so I have -1 damage dealt in total. I then grab the 6-sided die, and this determines the base damage dealt. Purple rolls, and they get a 4. -1 because of our equipment status, so we deal 3 damage. 3 damage with no modifier on the armor, so we actually do 3 damage. To the 9 health warrior, it drops him down to 6, and then is now, going counterclockwise, red's turn. As red, I choose to attack purple. 2 + 1 damage dealt, -2, so this is -1 in total, so I'm dealing 1 damage outwards. Ragged armor takes 1, so I'm dealing 2 damage to the headsman. Headsman drops down to 9 health, and it is blue's turn. As blue, I also attack purple. I do base 5 damage, +1 because I'm refined, so we do 6 damage. We have no card modifier, so it goes over to the player being attacked. They have +1 damage taken, so it does 7 damage in total, bringing them down to 2. As yellow, I attack red. I have a base damage of 1 with no modifiers on my end. It passes over, and they take 1 extra damage, dealing 2, dropping us down to 11. As purple, I attack red. I do base damage of 1, and that washes out with our worn weapon, but when it passes over, it gains another damage because of the weak armor, dealing 1 and leaving us at 10. As red, I choose to attack purple. I deal base damage 5 and receive +1 but -2, so we're at 4 damage going out. They receive 1 more because of the armor, so it's 5. That's more than their current health, so they are killed and removed from the field. As blue, I attack red. I do a base damage of 4 with +1 because of the refined weapon and +1 because of the armor, dealing 6 in total, dropping us down to 4 health. As yellow, I attack blue. I do a base damage of 3 with no modifiers on my end, and the -1 damage taken because of the good armor, dealing 2 damage to sure shot, leaving her at 8 health. As red, I attack yellow. I do a base damage of 5, -1 as it washes out, so we do 4 going in, and there are no modifiers here, so we do deal 4 damage, leaving her at 2. As blue, I attack red. Roll a 5 with +1 damage dealt. That goes out and gets another +1, dealing 7 in total, and eliminating the shield maiden. It's important that the equipment status remains on the field after the player has been killed, as we will see later. As yellow, I attack blue. I do base damage 2 with no modifiers on my end, but they -1 damage, dealing 1 in total, leaving her at 7. As blue, I attack yellow, dealing 2 damage outwards, +1 here, so 3, and eliminates the warrior, leaving sure shot in the winning scenario. When you win a round in Valhalla, you are left with 2 options. 1, scavenge the battlefield, or 2, claim a prize. Claiming a prize would be drawing from the elixir deck and keeping this and using it whenever you please. Scavenging the battlefield is looking at every other equipment status card left on the field and choosing whichever one you would like to keep and bring into the next round. This is an interesting example though, as it seems, the person who won actually does have the best equipment status card in the game, so their only real option is to draw an elixir card. Once the winning player either grabs their equipment status card or their elixir, the rest of the equipment status cards are cleared from the table. The player keeps their health, and they are the first to attack in the next round. New equipment status cards are randomly drawn. Delegates are chosen for the clans that were eliminated. Of course, they are all flipped simultaneously, and their health markers are adjusted. Play, of course, starts with the player that survived the previous round, and then continues as normal. Once all delegates have been eliminated from a clan, the player is left with only to play the chieftain. Once the chieftain dies in battle, the player is out of the game and can no longer play. The last player to be left in the game is the winner.